Welcome everyone to this session. It's day 2 of the convention, so I hope that you really enjoyed your first day and also took the time to network and meet with all friends and colleagues. My name is Nastasia Arenta, and next to me is Ricardo Smith, so we'll be chairing this particular session. And just a few notes from my side. Obviously, we'd love to thank our sponsors. This event would not be possible without them, so the likes of SA3, Discovery, Sapiens, WTW, Ernex, RNA Analytics, Sunlum, Insight, Accurate, Genry, MBE Consulting, Sickle, Liberty, Milliman, Old Mutual, RGA, Swiss Re, Hanover Re, Sal, Colorfield, Africa Re SA, Communicate Recruitment, Net Finance, and of course, Ayaka Consulting Actuaries. And also to note, if you haven't been to the exhibition hall, perhaps you're busy with other sessions that you were attending, or this is actually your actual day 1 and you weren't with us yesterday, do make the time to visit the exhibition hall. There is an origami tree at the Asa Lounge, and all you have to do is fold your design with the team that's standing by there with your name, and then you'll hang it onto the tree, and then all participants will be entered into a lucky draw. And then we also have coffee from RGA. They are sponsoring coffee and a side of popcorn if you'd like. And then also, if you want to visit some of our partners at the ASA Hub, we've got Actuaries Without Frontiers, Actuaries in the Making, as well as Asaba and WeSolve. And if you do need a private meeting space, you may have seen it when you walk into the venue. We do have those meeting pods that you can utilize, but they are first come, first serve. And a couple of other notes, if you haven't already picked up your parking ticket, you can get it at the Guardrobe. And then the other important thing is that you do know later on we've got the center court cocktails. So if you haven't picked up your little wristband, you can get it at the information desk, which is at the exhibition hall. So now we're going to be getting into this particular session, and we will have Q&A as usual after each session. Just a reminder to keep your questions short and succinct in the interest of time. I'd like to welcome 2 individuals who are already on the stage. That is Nabila Kolya and Dalisu Dube. And their particular discussion is going to be looking at beyond the policy, story, strategy, and the future of microinsurance. Nabila, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nastasia. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us bright and early this morning. In keeping with the theme of Beyond the Numbers, we're going today beyond the policy to delve a bit deeper into the journey, or specifically the microinsurance journey of Mr. Dalisu Dube. So Dalisu, for those of you who don't know, is the founder and CEO of Lina Insurance, a licensed life microinsurer. And before embarking on his entrepreneurial journey, Dalisu earned over 15 years of experience working for some of SA's leading short-term insurers. Outside of his corporate career, Dalisu has over 9 years' worth of experience as an entrepreneur. His actuarial training has put him in good standing to be involved in roles such as building pricing models, fraud prediction models, and data and analytics during his corporate tenure. Dalisu is a passionate individual about technology and data analytics and what it can achieve in most industries, including AI and machine learning. Dalisu is also the founding chairman of MIASA, the Microinsurance Association of South Africa. So Dalisu, you've had a remarkable career journey from starting as an actuarial analyst at Hanover Re in 2002 to now leading both Lina and chairing MIASA. What was the pivotal moment that made you transition from traditional roles at companies such as Hollard and FirstRand into the microinsurance space?
Morning, Nabila, and thanks for the invite, and appreciate everyone's presence here. So I think one of the, I don't know if you're allowed to mention insurers specifically, but there was one particular one where I was an actuarial analyst there. It's a green insurer, green and purple. I think maybe I can say that because effectively they're competitor now. So, and I thought there was something more than just the actuarial division, right? We did very cool stuff, underwriting. But I was always interested in, who's at the board of this company? What do they do? So I thought there's definitely something more. And I always wanted to sit on the board of an insurance company. So, I thought there's definitely something more. So I think that started the curiosity then to say there's something bigger, than the actual world.
Okay.
So that's what inspired me to start.
That's great. In November 2018, then you founded Lena Insurance. So take us back to that moment to, what specific gap in the market did you see? And what was the aha moment that convinced you that this was the right time to launch a microinsurer?
Besides a gap in the market, I thought, it was a legacy argument, right?
Okay.
That, we need to build things that outlive us,
Yep.
So it wasn't necessarily a gap, but it was just about, building something that's sustainable, building something of scale. And I think that was the opportunity then, because there was a new licensing category by the Prudential Authority. And there was an opportunity to start something that could, see it one day list and become one of the big insurers. So I think there was, not necessarily a gap, but I think more an opportunity that the regulators had seen. Also to push transformation, to get black entrepreneurs, more black entrepreneurs in financial services.
Okay, sounds good. But starting an insurance company is capital intensive, okay, and heavily regulated. So what were the biggest hurdles you faced in getting Lena off the ground, and especially given the new microinsurance licensing framework that you mentioned had only come into effect, July 2018, so just months before you launched?
Yeah, I could actually write a book about the topic, just getting licensed on its own. But I think just for context, so we registered Lena in 2018. It was actually meant to be a brokerage, because just register on CIPC, you just start, open a bank account. And I recall that the initial thinking was to be a broker. And then that didn't excite us enough. There was one lady I was working with at the time.
Yeah.
And then I thought, let's do a cell captive. So we spoke to some of the cell captive providers.
Yeah.
That still wasn't exciting. And then we thought, okay, let's do this. It was an intense process. I think credit to the regulators. I think they make sure that you stick, you're credible, because you're liable to your customers. So that process took about a year of just back and forth. I think the PA checks everything. They check your blood type included, so it's everything. So within reason, right? So took us about a year. And I think the last part was just the capital raise. And I think we're fortunate enough to have an angel investor to come in and support us. So it's been such a remarkable journey. It's transformative. I've changed. I'm no longer the same person, definitely. But yeah, it is. That was the journey. We wanted to do something big. We wanted to do something bold. And this was a chance. And obviously these things that are bold, they're difficult. They're difficult things. And it also gives meaning,
Definitely.
So it's been a journey. I don't regret it. It's been remarkable.
That's amazing. Did your journey kind of start with the idea of the brokerage, and then was it just fortuitous that the microinsurance license was then launched, and then that's what made you decide to go that route?
Yeah, I think it was coincidental, because before then I started another company, 2016, which is now the holding company of the current insurer, which was scrutinized like you won't believe, but it's good. As a customer, you have comfort that, or as a consumer of insurance products, you have comfort that the financial systems in the country are good.
Sound. Yep, that's exactly what we want. The South African microinsurance market has historically been dominated by funeral cover. So at Lena, you offer life and funeral insurance products. And how do you balance meeting customers where they are with products that they understand and trust, while also expanding insurance literacy and needs beyond funeral cover?
Yeah. So that was the other exciting part of starting a microinsurance, is that it has to be bigger than funeral. We know funeral sells in South Africa, keeps the lights on. But I think the exciting part for me, I'm not I'm a life person. My background is actually short term. So I'm really excited about what we could do to increase, insurance penetrations, especially in the lower end of the market. Over and above, funeral. Funeral keeps the lights on, so we're great. Funeral cover keeps the lights on, and we're also grateful to be able to, and honored to serve our customers, in time of their need. In terms of financial education, it's something that we deeply passionate about. We partnered with a company called Stockfell Academy, lady who's very passionate about financial education. She calls it the Gibbs of Stockville. So she teaches obviously the Stockville members about financial matters. So we partnered with her. We have a resident person there who speaks about insurance and so forth. And we know that whatever products we sell, financial education has to underpin that. Because people have to understand the
What
products
they're
buying. Besides obviously the regulators getting us to the point, and knowing exactly what the value for money they're getting.
Makes sense. I think what products do you think would be? You've mentioned funeral now, you offer life, you said you have a short-term background, but there isn't even a single short-term microinsurer. I think there may be a couple of composites, and then the other 15 are life microinsurers. Can you maybe give us some insight into why that is the case and whether you see short-term microinsurers actually taking off?
Yeah. So there will definitely, it just takes time. Look, remember after being licensed, you now want to grow the business, right?
Yes.
That's the next part. Mm-hmm. That has taken, and look, we got into this knowing that these things take time, And I think also we're lucky to have shareholders who don't, want to get a quick return. They understand that there's things. So it's after being licensed, you have to focus on growth. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you now that the products, they're already brewing. They're already there. We already soft launched a product that's it's not necessarily funeral only, but it will obviously it's market adoption and all this, but it's gonna evolve into that. It will take time because you must remember that you wanna capture the clients on the products that they're familiar with, and then slowly introduce them to new and innovative products. I was actually sitting in a meeting yesterday, and we were talking about check insurance, right?
Wow.
So these are the kind of things and innovation that speaks to customer needs in the markets that you serve. So I see massive potential because as you know the insurance penetration in the low end of the markets is very low.
Yes.
And you wanna up it not just by selling insurance, but you create value.
Yes.
Create value for your customers. So yeah, exciting times. But it has taken a bit longer than expected, I think. Because just besides the challenges that microinsurers are going through and getting that right, and then growing,
Okay, fair enough. I suppose you spoke now challenges. So one of the key challenges microinsurance is achieving sustainable economics. So low premiums, high distribution costs, and the need for scale. So how did you design a business model to address this, and what role does technology play in the microinsurance space to make it viable?
Yeah, so I'll start with tech. Tech is an enabler, as you know, and like I mentioned now, we've soft launched. I'm very excited about this. Soft launched a tech product. It's like on-demand app, very nifty app, and it speaks to what the customer needs, right? No need for debit orders anymore because it just doesn't make sense for that market. So technology plays a very an enabling part of the growth strategy because it's also tech just helps you then lower costs, and which once your costs are lowered, then you pass that benefit to the customers, which is necessary.
Yes.
Because you can't see the upper end of the market. I think that people can afford, but here you have to really look at your cost structure and minimize it. And I think tech has been a great enabler for that.
Okay. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing this product after its soft launch. Just to touch on, the Insurance Act created a specific licensing category for microinsurance with proportional regulatory requirements. And then as someone who founded Lina shortly after the regulation came into effect, what's your honest assessment? Has the regulatory framework successfully enabled financial inclusion, or are there still barriers to overcome?
Maybe if I can just check if there's anyone from the regulators.
I think I did see Julia.
Okay, all right. I need to be careful with my answer. No, but yeah. An honest assessment is, there is a feeling like we are regulated like we are a Sanlam or an Old Mutual. It's a truth. And if you look at the Act itself, the prudential standards included, it was effectively a copy and paste, but I think we credit to the Reserve Bank as well that our engagements, even through MIASA, that our challenges that we're facing from the kind of regulation that's for microinsurers as small entities, in all honesty, being regulated because the rules are the same for everyone. It's scary. It's scary. But like I said, we're engaging the regulators on some of the matters. One of them being, access to capital. I mean, how you tier your capital for solvency. That's a big one. And as an emerging business, you don't have the luxury of getting like equity partners to come in. Banks, commercial banks will probably won't give you the best of terms. Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is let the capital count to some extent, or have a period where you're waiving, the capital requirements. No, not that you don't want to get audited, but have not a full audit per se. Just have an auditor look at, okay, these are the revenue numbers, the solvency is here, not as intense as it's been. But access to capital and the quality of the capital. Yes, we appreciate the rules, the prudential standards, but for a younger emerging company, it's not easy to negotiate capital that meets the requirements of the quality that's required for solvencies.
It's an interesting one because obviously the regulators balancing the protection of your consumers at the end of the day. So I think in its infancy, when the microinsurance policy document came out in 2008, it was a lot simpler, and I think it grew legs and became much closer, I think, to an insurance kind of framework. So how do you balance that then? Because I think you're asking for some maybe leeway, but at the same time, the regulators balancing the protection of the consumers.
Look, to start, the balance is important. I agree with you. To start, I think the control functions, we appreciate the fact that there's 2 out of the 4. Mm-hmm. That helps. Governance, we governance has to be strong. Yep. We agree with that. Okay. And I mean, one of them is like asset spread, right? For a micro, So these are the things where we feel we need to engage because it might be a little bit of an overkill. And while we know that, we need to protect our customers, there's, I think, ways. In my mind, I would expect that there should be like a microinsurance act, not necessarily under the Insurance Act, because the Insurance Act regulates all the insurers, regardless of size. So I think that there needs to be a consideration for a specific piece of legislation that just speaks to microinsurers and their challenges that they go through, while balancing, obviously, protecting customers. And I'm in no way saying that there should be a waiving period. The waiving period is just from maybe like an audit, because it takes time. Yes, we understand the compliance side of things, and let microinsurers just get some room to just at least grow their business. Because when we have our meetings with the regulators, like, okay, where's the growth? And you have to demonstrate the growth, and that's why you're actually building the business. So, yeah, it's been, as I said, I could write a book about that. It's been a fascinating journey. But I think credit to the regulators. I think the engagements have been very fruitful in terms of us saying how to get microinsurers to, microinsurance industry to be sustainable. Going forward.
No, I agree with you. I think the regulators have definitely been willing to engage, and especially from our role. I mean, we both sit on the microinsurance committee of the Actuarial Society, and we've had lots of engagements about the actual regulation as well with the regulators. So, I agree.
Yeah, a good point, because the other one, you speak of balance, the other one is reserving, right? It's one of the topics we on the agenda. Is 7% IBNR, sufficient? Is it an overkill for microinsurers or not? So that's where the balance comes in, because then the higher the amount of capital I'm required to hold, the worse off it is for me from a growth perspective as well, especially for an emerging business, like I mentioned. Yeah. So it's been great to engage on that level and shape, I think, policy.
Yes.
In terms of, exactly. I think one of the things that I wish for is the next sort of black entrepreneur starting a bank or an insurer. It shouldn't be this difficult for them. There should be a balance of regulation and protecting, our customers and, their ability to actually start and grow a business that's sustainable.
Thanks, Lisa. So maybe as the chair of MIASA, you have a unique vantage point across the entire microinsurance ecosystem. So what's the most pressing challenges that the association is working on to address on behalf of the industry, other than some of the regulation that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think the one is not even regulatory. The one big one is just access to capital. I think I've touched on it. And I think that, even at our launch a few weeks ago, we did mention that it's an industry challenge. and getting possibly government to assist in that matter, because it's not an insurance or financial services issue. It's just I think it's a countrywide issue to say, how do you support startups? How do you make sure that they're sustainable and they offer value to customers? So the main one was access to capital, and then the other ones just follow suit from there. I think I'm mentioning it again, like the asset spread for and it makes sense. I mean, all the rules make sense, and you see why the rules are there to actually protect you as a business, actually, and also the customers. It's not only the customers, but yeah, it's sometimes it goes a bit. It's taken a bit too far.
Well, we look forward to what comes out of MIASA. I think it's in its infancy, so looking forward to seeing what happens there. I think, we touched a bit on the different hats that you wear. The microinsurance, member of the microinsurance committee, chair of MIASA, CEO of a microinsurer. So bearing this in mind, how would you critically assess the microinsurance market? And specifically, what are your views on the fairness of the bigger players entering the market and their advantages over the smaller players?
I think I'm excited about it. Maybe I'm biased, but I'm excited about because there's definitely an opportunity there, right? Whether you're microinsurers, there's definitely an opportunity in the lower end of the market. So I see the industry, growing in sort of outside of funeral. Yes, it's taken a bit longer, but I see growth there. I'm seeing a lot of innovation, tech-enabled products. Exciting stuff. I always say that if you're going to get like a TikTok in finances, that get things to trend like we do with insurance. I know insurance is difficult to sell. So I'm seeing a bit of. I think one of the things we're working on at MIASA is just the savings product, because traditionally all the microinsurance products, you can't offer savings products. So
Yes.
We're currently busy now with a group of bright students at UCT who are actually just.
I heard about that paper there.
Yeah, so who are just researching for us. And it's been amazing. I was reading the papers and it's been amazing, and it just makes sense because proportionately the lower end of the market is have a high savings rate to their income, right? So it just makes sense. Just bundle the two. So I see something there to say, remove the grudge purchase aspect of insurance. Okay. Have something that. Because our customers, they call the products should you die products. That's terrible, right?
Okay.
It's morbid. You want a product that that serves you while you're alive as well. So I think savings product on the micro license would be a great one. And I know that it's not that it's not included. You have to get permission. But so I think the papers that I've read now from these students, and they're very inspired that they're gonna influence someone at the Reserve Bank, at the PA or FSCA to say let's get savings products on. It just makes sense. It's a no-brainer, and I hope the papers convey that message very clearly.
I think it does make sense, but that's going to come with your additional regulation and complexity. So
that's fine. It's a good point, Nabila. That's fine. I think for me, it's from customer. Then you work backwards. I wouldn't say because the regulation is going to be burdensome, we therefore can't offer the customers. It doesn't make sense. Yep. So it's the other way, that this just makes sense to the customer. How do we work towards making sure? Because I think one of the things, we see it as we pay our claims, that this amount of money just going to the funeral, that doesn't make 100% sense, because there needs to be another lump sum, maybe spread over 6 months, over 8 months, that looks after the family. The family. Once after, especially if the main member passes away. So these are the things that makes 100%. So our view is that just work backwards from there. Okay. Then we'll deal with the regulators later. But like I said, we're engaging quite positively.
Okay, that's great. I think maybe as a last question, because I see we're almost out of time and I do want to leave some time for questions from the audience. For actuaries in the audience who might be considering working in or starting ventures in the microinsurance space, what advice would you give them, and what skills or mindsets are essential for success in this market?
I think the first one, I don't know if it's a skill, but you have to be delusional. you have to be, you can't know what you're going to go through, right? Because you're going to be discouraged. So I think that's an attitude. But, jokes aside, you have to, I think the actuarial profession places, I think our training, places us in a good place to actually just run or manage risk effectively. So I think as an actuary, you're definitely in a great starting point to actually manage an insurance company. So you've already got that skill. I think when you look deeper, it's everything you've built, how far you've gone. It's people, your clients, your partners, your stakeholders, people. So you have to be able to have the skill in either managing people or handling people, all sorts of people. So I've spoken about the technical skills, people. And you have to also another attitude. I think more attitudinal than it's. You have to be positive. You have to be solutions oriented. Things will get tough, so you just have the attitude that
be resilient. I think
resilience. Yeah, it speaks to that. I think so. It's more of attitude than necessarily the skills you can learn. It's easy to learn the skills, or relatively easier. But I think it's more of an attitude thing that you need to have more than the skills necessarily.
Thank you, Deliso. I really appreciate getting an insight into your journey. I'm happy to open the floor for questions for Deliso, not for me. I think
and hopefully it's not difficult questions.
Thanks. And so there's a question this side. Work back from the customer, be delusional, and be resilient, like that.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the conversation. My question is around, outside of financial education, how exactly, or are there other things you're looking at in order to convince and encourage customers? Because you did mention that it is a bit of a grudge purchase. The reason I ask this question is I come from a banking background, and how I would think of this, you've got traditional banking, and microinsurance, you could think of it as mobile money, right? Whereby you can access the needs of people on the lower income spectrum, right? But underlying that is a need to transact, right? So coming again to something you also mentioned, something like shack insurance, right? Outside of financial education, how would you convince someone to take out shack insurance? Because to me, what probably makes sense is you need more fires and more flooding for that person to see the need. Yeah. So just to understand what other things besides financial education you can use to increase uptake. Yeah.
Thanks for the question. I think two things. Just firstly, simplifying your product. Just make it as simple as you can. And I think the second one is just make it exciting, make it tech, make it tech enabled. So simplifying it in a tech that I think goes a long way, because you have to understand that for a customer to pay the hard-earned money, there has to be something in it for them. So you always have to think about the customer. So one of the things that I think in my previous life in corporate would sit there, there's actuaries, underwriters, claims people, operations, and we just come up with this product. I think similar to your question. Say, how do you satisfy customer needs? And then we come up with the solution, right? And forgetting the one big thing that you need to have your customer sitting in there to actually tell you. So the customer engagement also is very, very, very important to say, what does your customer need? Not necessarily from market research, but having your client sitting in there, because one of the biggest gripes is actually how you, or one of the biggest gripes with your product is how you can improve it. Cool.
Thanks. Just two quick ones from myself while we look for another hand. In the West and East African region, there's a lot of tech play, slightly less regulation. You've got M-Pesa, microinsurance, microfinance. I worry about the extent to which those regions have given up their financial systems to tech companies who are prone to private ownership, not regulated as financial entities, on systems that are not necessarily as secure as banking and insurance system. Just want your thoughts on that. And then secondly, within the microfinance and particularly microinsurance space, where it's a life or funeral policy, where the main member takes it out, there is this prevalent experience where it's not by debit order, it's either physical payment or something, a transaction where you go somewhere and pay. And in the case of something like a terminal illness, a lot of those policies lapse just before the person actually passes away. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that and in dealing with some of those issues, which you know are quite challenging. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, kind of jam-packed question. So on the continent and tech, I think I like the example of M-Pesa. It's worked quite well. And our view actually is over and above South Africa to actually just take microinsurance as a whole to the rest of the continent. We're actually having conversations with some of the insurers in different African jurisdiction. But on the tech side, I think you must remember that the insurance portion of the offering is regulated, right? I think wherever you go, there's regulated. I mean, I was sitting in Angola about a month ago, speaking to an insurer there. So the insurance product is always regulated. It's just maybe the fintech part that's not. But there's always, from what I've seen, just protection. So it's not like, you just build a tech innovation and just offer these products. But I know that the insurance part of the offering is always regulated across the continent. And then in terms of lapses, I think one of the rules we have, especially in this, I can speak for South Africa. One of the rules we have is that if a client misses, let's say, 2 payments, you can actually, and then the unfortunate event happens, you can actually deduct those 2 payments. So it's not that if you don't pay, it's automatic lapse. So there's ways now to, look at what happens then to avoid that situation that you mentioned, a policy lapsing before the event happens. So there is a mechanism to actually cover that. Because, us getting our premiums is the function of an economy doing well. And so it's a reality. I hope I've answered your question.
Thanks. You have any other questions from the floor? Okay, there's a hand right at the back.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you think microinsurance is a moral obligation or a market opportunity. Do you lean more towards social justice, or do you see it as a form of making profit, personally?
It's an interesting question. It's both, actually. I like the word you use, social justice, right? Because, your customers need to be served. And customers don't care of your color, actually, to be very honest. Some of them care, but most of them don't, right? Especially individuals. So you need to run the business with excellence, whether you're black or white, so excellence. So there's one part of it. And then the other part of it, social justice, is obviously we know the history of the country, so we need more black players in the space. So that's the social justice aspect of it. And I suspect maybe you're at the Maesa launch. But again, I think just to Nabila's point earlier, is what's happening in the market, and you think you've seen. I think microinsurance is a lucrative industry. You're seeing some of the big players buying the microinsurers, and again, I think it's not to necessarily kill the industry, but I think we understand some of the reasons. But again, sustaining the industry becomes then important. So that's where and obviously to your point, we've got shareholders, we've got a board that want to see a profit and stuff, but that's not that shouldn't come before obviously what we're trying to achieve as a whole. So you have to get a healthy balance of these things. So make a profit and social justice and as like you say.
Thanks. We are running slightly over, so I'd like to close it there and thank Daliso and Nabila. If there is additional questions, I'm sure they'll be around the conference. Just look for them and ask all the tough questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, our next session is going to start at 8:45. And then also just to make it easier for you, if you want to actually engage with them and you can't find them because there's a lot of people here, on the app there is a feature where you can actually be able to connect with the particular person that you're looking for, so you can utilize that. Thanks.